Hello and welcome to my channel, Distinctive Crochet. My name is Priscilla and today we're going to be making my beautiful Autumn's Favorite Swancho pattern. So for this tutorial you will need to know how to make the foundation half treble crochet stitch, and if you're not familiar with that stitch, don't worry, I do have a separate tutorial that I will link down below where you can go ahead and check that out. If you are familiar with foundation stitches, I do, but maybe not this specific one, I do show you how to make a few and right in the tutorial, so that will go ahead and help you to get started. So this is a one size fits most, so it could be oversized on some than others, but if you are not comfortable with your garments being oversized or too long, then this is where you would make your adjustment right when we're doing our foundation stitches. So we're starting off with the foundation stitches down the center. So if you're not comfortable with the oversized, then you would want to make less foundation stitches. So I'm using 24 in this pattern, so you could probably do between 18 to 20, and that will you know, make it a little bit smaller in size. Okay, you could also just work maybe the first few rows of the pattern how it is, and maybe take a gauge swatch, or even work a full panel and then go from there to see how you want to make your adjustments. Okay, so we're starting out with the foundation stitches. Let me show you. And then we get to this bottom here, and then we're working in that last stitch to increase, and then it makes like a little half circle, and then we'll go back up the bottom of those stitches and work all the way back up. And then from there we're just going back and forth in rows, and we'll be increasing at the bottom. Okay, and the increases are pretty easy. They're almost like a if you're working like a hat pattern, how you do the increases for that, but I will go over that with you in the tutorial. And then once you have all your increases done, then we're just going to do a single crochet edge across the top to do your shoulder, to make it easier to seam up your shoulder seams. And then once you have that done, we'll go ahead and work on the sleeve. Well, actually you have to have both panels done, and then we'll go ahead and work on the sleeves. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial. It's pretty easy to follow, and you guys can really have fun with it. You know, you can use the variegated yarn in a solid like I did, or you can make stripes with many different colors, or just use an all striping or variegated yarn all throughout. Really, the possibilities are endless. So I really hope you guys get creative or distinctive with this and just have fun with it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the materials that you will need for this, and then on to the tutorial. Thanks again for coming along with me, and I hope you enjoy. For this tutorial, you will need a 9mm hook, and this is the hook that we'll be using for the majority of the pattern. We'll start off with this, and then the other two hooks are only used for the sleeve. So you'll need your 9mm hook, your 6mm hook, your 5mm hook, a measuring tape, a pair of scissors, and a yarn needle. You will also need several stitch markers. Okay, so for the yarn that I used the Impeccable by Loops and Threads in the color Falling Leaves, as well as the color Burgundy, and I used 3 of the variegated skeins and 2 of the solid colors, so you'll need between 1100 to 1200 yards for this project total, and you can use any worsted weight that you like. Alright everyone, to get started with this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and make some foundation half treble crochet stitches. I will show you how to make a few of them, but if this is something you need a little bit more help with, I do have a separate tutorial, and I will go ahead and link that down below. So if you need a little bit more help with that, go ahead and check out that tutorial and then come back to the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to need to do is chain up 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and yarn over twice, and then I'm just going to hold my wraps with my finger just to make it a little easier to get into. So we're going to go to the back bump. So there's the front of our chain with the V's, and now we'll just flip it to the back, and we're going to go into that very first chain we made, which is the 3rd chain from the hook. We're just going to insert our hook into there. I'm having to use my nail a little bit to get in there. Alright, so now I'm just going to yarn over and pull up a loop, And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through that first loop I just made to make a chain. And now I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through the last 3 to finish off the half treble. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to yarn over twice. We're going to insert our hook into the bottom 2 loops of the chain we just made. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through to make a chain. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 to finish off the half treble. Okay, so I'll just do one more and then we'll move on. So I'm just going to yarn over twice. Insert your hook into the bottom 2 loops of the chain we just made. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through to make a chain. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through all 3 to make the half treble. Alright, so go ahead and make a total of 24. This first one, the chain 3, does not count as a stitch. And if you do need to make adjustments, this is the time to do it. Just make a few less half trebles. I'll now meet you back. Alright, and I made it back. So this is my stitch number 24. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a stitch marker and mark that stitch. And you will need this stitch marked later on in the pattern, so please make sure you move it up as you go along in your in working the rows. So in this same stitch, we're going to work 9 half treble crochet stitches, not foundation, but just 9 half treble crochet stitches. So just yarn over twice and go into the bottom 2 loops, and then we're just going to go ahead and make the half treble. So we're just going to pull through 2 and then pull through all 3, and we're going to do that 8 more times for a total of 9 of these. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into that same stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, and now you need to make 7 more. So yarn over twice, go in the same stitch, pull through 2 and pull through 3. Just keep doing that until you get 9 half trebles. So here's 7, 8, and 9. All right, so I have the 9 half trebles, and now we're going to start working into the bottom of these foundation stitches. So find those bottom 2 loops right there, and then you're going to work right into there. So I'm going to yarn over twice, insert my hook into those 2 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through all 3. So this is the first stitch after that, after those increases. So we're just going to go ahead and mark that stitch as well. All right, so now we're just going to continue working these stitches all the way up, and then I will meet you back when I get mine. Okay, so I made it back, and I am getting ready to work this last stitch. So the chain 3 does not count as a stitch, remember that, but we do have to work this last one. So you should have a total of 24 stitches. So you can go ahead and count your stitches and make sure that you have a total of 24. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and chain up 2, and we're going to turn. And now we're going to be working half trebles into the 3rd loop. Okay, so here's the top 2 that we usually go into, and now here is the 3rd loop right here in the front. So this is the stitch that we're going to be working into from now on in the pattern. This is what helps us to give us that beautiful stitch. When we work in there, those 2 loops will go on the front of the work and make a beautiful braid. So we're going to go ahead and insert our hook into there and work our half treble stitches. And then we're just going to keep working that in each of that 3rd loop all the way down. And since we're working in rows, the 3rd loop will be in front of us, so we'll be able to see it right on whatever row we're working. It'll be right there. Okay, and that's because we're working in rows and not rounds. Alright, so just keep working in that loop all the way down until you get to your stitch marker, and then I'll meet you back when we get there. Okay, and I made it down to my stitch marker. So I'm just going to go ahead and work one more half treble right into that 3rd loop there. And now I'm going to go ahead and move up my stitch marker so I can keep track of where I am. And this just helps it go a little faster where you don't have to keep counting your stitches. So I would definitely suggest you move your stitch marker up as you go. Okay, so in these next 9 stitches, we're going to be working 2 half trebles in each of those 3rd loops. So we're increasing in each of these stitches for the next 9 stitches. Alright, so here is our first one. So we're going to be working 2 stitches into this 3rd loop here. And then we're going to keep working 2 stitches into each of those that are in between those stitch markers. So the next 9 stitches will need 2 half trebles in each one. So you should end up with 18 stitches between the markers, and then I'll meet you back when I have mine. Alright, so I'm back to my other stitch marker here, and I finished my increases. So now I'm just going to go ahead and work a half treble right into there, and then I'm going to move up my stitch marker. Okay, and then we're just going to work 1 half treble in each stitch all the way down. So I will meet you back when we get to that last stitch. Alright, so I made it back to this last stitch, and I just wanted to slow this down a little bit for you guys so you can see a little bit better. This stitch right here is our last one, and this chain 2 does not count as a stitch, but we are going to be working right here in this last 3rd loop. So try not to miss that. If you need to add a stitch marker, go ahead and do so. Alright, but when you go all the way down here to this stitch marker, you should have a total of 24 stitches. Unless you made a change to the pattern, then make sure you keep your same stitch count that you have. Alright, so now we're just going to chain up 2 and turn, and now this is row 2 that we're working. So we're going to start working in our 3rd loop, and we're going to work those 24 stitches all the way down till we get to our stitch marker, and making sure we're going into that 3rd loop. So just keep working that down, and I'll meet you back when we get to that stitch marker for our increases. Alright, and I made it back to my stitch marker here. So I'm just going to work that stitch right into that 3rd loop, and then I'm going to make sure to move up my stitch marker to keep track of where I am. Okay, so now we're going to begin our increases. So we always start with increasing in the first stitch. So we're going to put 2 stitches right into this next one. And then the increase pattern is sort of like if you're doing a hat pattern where you increase and then you just work 1 stitch into the next. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we've increased this stitch, and now this next stitch will just get 1. So we'll just put 1 half treble right into that stitch there. So now in the next stitch, we're going to work 2 half trebles. And in this very next stitch, we're going to put 1. So you just want to keep repeating that until you get to your next stitch marker, and you should have a total of 27 stitches between those, and then I will meet you back when I get to mine. Alright, so I will meet you back. Okay, so I made it back to my stitch marker. So this is my next stitch right here, so I'm just going to work 1 half treble right into that stitch and then move up my stitch marker. Okay, so now we're just going to keep working half trebles, 1 in each stitch, all the way till we get back up to the top, and then you're going to do your chain 2 and turn, and you're going to work back down to your stitch marker, and then you're going to work your next increase round. So you're going to put 2 in the next stitch and then 1 in the next 2 stitches. And then you're going to put 2 in the next stitch and then 1 in the next 2 stitches. And then 2 in the next stitch and 1 in the next 2 stitches, and so on. So you just keep repeating that pattern until you get to your other stitch marker, and then work your 24 back up to the other side, and then chain 2 and turn. And you should have a total of 36 stitches in between the markers for that round. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the instructions on the screen for you guys to follow, because it's just a repeat from now. So this is the chart that you will need to refer to continue on the increases on the bottom half circle of the panel. I just explained row 3 to you all, so I'm just going to go over row 4 really quickly. So once you work your 24 stitches and you reach your stitch marker, this is where you're going to start these instructions. So it says increase in the next, so that means you're going to put 2 stitches. Anytime it says increase, that means put 2 stitches into that 1 stitch. Then you're going to HTRTL, which means half treble. So you should be used to doing that already, because that's what we've been doing. You're going to half treble in that 3rd loop in the next 3 stitches, and then you'll just repeat that 9 times. So once you finish those half trebles in the next 3 stitches, you'll go back and put an increase in the next stitch, and then you'll just follow that until you reach the other stitch marker, and then you work your 24 stitches back up. You'll chain 2 and turn, and then you'll check out the instructions for row 5. Okay, and I do have the stitch counts at the end of each row, so you can always go back and check your stitch count and make sure you have the right number of stitches. And the stitch count is just for those increases in between the 2 stitch markers. So those are the stitches you'll be counting. You won't be counting the 24 stitches, because those should maintain 24 stitches. Alright, so just keep following the chart in that manner, and once you finish row 15, remember not to turn, and then go ahead and meet me back at the video and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, and I made it back. So this is working the top edging for our shoulder seams, and all we're going to do is we're just going to chain 1, and then this is the top edge here, so we're going to work right through that space there, and that is the half treble. So we're going to put 3 single crochets right around that half treble post. Okay, so we're going to put 3 single crochets right in there, and then once we get to the chain 2 spaces, we're just going to put 1 single crochet in there. So 3 in the half trebles, and then 1 single crochet into the chain 2 space. So that's the chain 2. We're just going to put 1 single crochet right into that chain 2 space. Alright, so now we're back on the half treble, so we're going to put 3 single crochets right into here. Alright, so after you get your 3 single crochet in here, the next one will be a chain 2 space, so you'll put 1 single crochet in there. So you're just going to keep repeating that across, and once you get to the end, all you're going to do is chain 1 and come back with putting 1 single crochet in each stitch across, and then once you finish off, you want to make sure you leave a long tail so that you can sew up your shoulder seams. Alright, so I'll meet you back when I have mine, and just keep working on yours. Alright, and I made it back. So at this point you want to have both of your panels finished, and what you're going to do is you're going to count over 22 stitches from the end, and then you're going to place a stitch marker, and then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And once you have them marked, you want to go ahead and measure and make it about 10 inches. If it's a little more or a little less, it should be okay. This is just the space that will go over your head, so you want to make sure it's large enough. So once you have that done, you're going to put both of your panels together, and then you'll seam up your sides from there to there, and then that's your shoulder seam. And then you just go ahead and leave that open for your head, and then you'll seam up the other side as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my second panel and work yours up if you haven't already, and then I'll meet you back to show you how to seam them up. Okay, so I'm back and I have both pieces here together now, and we're going to get ready to sew up the shoulder seams. So this section here is what we're going to be seaming up together. So I have the right sides facing together. So the way you can tell is at that very beginning, when we did the foundation round and then came back up again, it left the braided edge on that front side or the right side. So this braided edge right here is what you will see, and that's how you can tell that it is the front side or the right side. So we want to make sure that those two sides are facing. So pretty much it's like you're working on the what would be the inside of your garment, so that you don't see the seams, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to slide this over a little bit more so you can see a little better. And I left a nice long tail to go ahead and sew them up. So I have my marker here in place to know where to stop. So I'm just going to start here at the corner and grab both of the pieces. Alright, so hopefully you can see that a little better. Okay. So now I'm just going to hold both pieces together and match them up as best as I can. And then I'm going to go ahead and do like a mattress stitch. So I'm just going to go under the outside loop and then go through a corresponding loop on the other side, and then pull it straight through and then go back across onto the other side. So it's just pretty much a simple mattress stitch, or you can seam it up any way that you like or you prefer. The main thing is you just want to sew that up from the corner up to your stitch marker, and then that creates the shoulder seam for your Swancho. So you're just going to keep working in the same manner all the way across till you get to your stitch marker. And then you want to pull it tight, but not too tight, because you don't want it to bunch up on you. So I'll just show you a couple more. So you're just going through each corresponding side of both panels. So I'm just going to keep working like that all the way across till I get to my stitch marker, and then you'll do the same thing on the other side for the other shoulder seam. And then once you have that done, come on back to the video and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so I made it back. So actually this is my shoulder seam here that I finished, and I have turned it right side out. So the right sides are back out facing me. So here is that first braid that we have going around, and this is important on how you have it to put your sleeves on, because you won't get the pattern design that you want if it's inside out. So make sure the right side is out. Okay, so we're just going to turn it over to the side here, and now you want to be working with your 6mm hook for your sleeve, and you should have your stitch markers in place from when you were marking your stitches. Now if you did change the number of stitches, you should still have your marker for that last stitch that you made there. But I'm just going to flip mine over so that I can be working in the correct direction. And if you did also change the stitch count, you want to make sure you have at least 10 inches to work from for your sleeves. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and grab my new yarn to join in, and I'm just going to join it in right at this stitch marker here, and I'm just going to slip stitch to join right in that same space. Make sure you're using your 6mm hook for this sleeve part, and then I'm just going to yarn over and go into the same stitch and put a half double crochet. So now I'm just going to put a half double crochet in each stitch around, and then when we get to this shoulder section here, I'll come back to the video to show you how I put my stitches across to go across that seam. So I'll meet you back when I get up there. Okay, so I made it back at the shoulder seam. It doesn't really matter how many you put in, you just kind of want to make sure that it's nice and even. So I'm just going to find a nice space to put the stitches and make sure that it evens it out a little bit better. So now I'm just going to go one here, and then maybe one more right here. Okay, and now I'm back into my, maybe one more right here. Okay, yep, that looks better. Alright, so now I'm right into the regular stitches. So now you can just go right into each stitch around, and when you get to the other side, I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it to the other stitch marker, and then I put a half double right in there. So now I'm ready to join to the other side. So I'm not going to do a slip stitch. All I'm going to do is work a half double crochet right into the third loop of that first stitch. So here is the first loop, the back loop, and then here is the third loop right there. So that's how we're just going to join it. We're just going to do a half double right into that third loop. So work right in there, and then that'll join the sleeve together. So all we're going to do now is just we're going to keep going in each half double and working in the third loop. So since we're working in rounds, the third loop is in the back of the stitch now. So you're just going to continue on in the same way all the way around, putting one half double crochet in each stitch around in the third loop, and then you will not join, you'll just work in a spiral instead of joining each round. So just go ahead and work a few rows of that with your 6mm hook, and then once you get about halfway what you think you would need for your sleeve, go ahead and try it on, and if you think it's a little loose for you, then go ahead and switch to the 5mm hook to tighten up the sleeves just a little bit, and then you just continue on down to the length that you desire for your sleeve. And then once you're done with that sleeve, you can go ahead and follow the same steps to work the sleeve for the other side. Alright, so I'm just going to keep working on mine, and then when I have it done, I'll go ahead and show you the picture. So this is pretty much the end of the tutorial. Thanks for coming along with me, and I hope you enjoy.